What is going on? Welcome back to finjourney. So today we're going to talk to you about Ethereum Classic. While everyone's focusing on Bitcoin and the whole new ETF approval, people should be really looking at ETC. So I want to go over some of the current data points, latest updates, and everything else that you need to know. But first, make sure to hit that thumbs up and subscribe. Always greatly appreciate that. And with that said, let's get right to it. So ETC is currently up 1.85% over the last 5 days alone. It is up 46.4%. So even though the broader media and everyone else is looking at ETC, which is of course in turn drawing a lot of attention to just cryptocurrency, people are seeing ETC for a pretty significant value and not necessarily realizing that ETC is extremely shorted. So this recent bump up that caused it to get to just over 30, give or take, 31, that was as a result of a squeeze. And over the last 1 year, there's been probably about good 3 or 4 short squeezes that have occurred with ETC. And just to put it in comparison on how good ETC is doing, so this is a 1-year chart, shows ETC, the S&P 500, and then obviously I had to throw Bitcoin in here as well. Bitcoin is up 129.8%, S&P up 19.94%, which isn't all that bad in among itself, but ETC over the last 1 year is up 50.47%. Majority of 2023 it's been dormant, didn't really do all that much. I think just a lot of people still didn't really trust cryptocurrencies. There's been a lot of bad PR during 2023. So I think 2024 going forward is going to be the time to shine. And even more so right now, especially with a lot of the data that's coming out right now and earnings from a lot of the big banks, there is a slowdown happening. So essentially that might be a very good thing for ETC and cryptocurrency as people are looking for, I guess, an alternate solution. So might be something to really consider. Above that though, I just wanted to break it down. So ETC has really done phenomenal stuff over the last couple days, because it did go from rank number about 28, 29 to now 21. And this is based on the market cap. So you can even see over the last 7 days, it is completely outperforming any of the other comparables. So I'm going to play a quick video near the tail end of the video, but it's more correlated with the Bitcoin ETF. But like I said, as that gets more and more kind of attention to it, a lot of people are going to start to think of the possibilities of what is next. Is maybe Ethereum, and then in turn, Ethereum Classic going to get their own ETF. And imagine what that would do to the whole crypto market. It's legitimizing it. And that's the biggest thing that cryptocurrency has been struggling with, is just making people understand it and see what it's all about, and potentially just investing in it, right? So let me know your thoughts on that mentality. But like I said, there has been a small squeeze that did happen over the last several days. So this is a liquidation chart. It shows who is selling. So starting off on January the 9th, there was about $1.1 million in shorts returning. On vice versa, there was about 829.25 thousand longs. But over the last couple of days, that is where things have gone very interesting. So where it did bump up the price from about 21 to 29-ish, there was a ton, so $5.03 million in shorts closing out some of their positions. But despite that though, that's just the tip of the iceberg, because ETC for almost the last 2.5 years has been extremely shorted. And I think ETC, if you ever want to call it like a meme coin, if that's something to consider, technically there's a lot more room that this can go, because realistically, there's a lot of people giving crazy price targets in the short term that potentially can even hit 100. And you never know with a short squeeze, this is a small amount of shorts kind of returning only $5 million worth. And that caused it to go up from around 21 to 30, give or take, like I said. So there is a lot of good opportunity for ETC in the short term. Still, no matter what though, if you are investing in ETC, you kind of have to think bigger picture, of course, like I've said in the past. But one thing to note though, is the hash rate has stayed rather high. So that definitely does mean that ETC is secure, right? The lower the hash rate, the more kind of likelihood that there could be some hacking or some manipulation behind the scenes. So I think that's obviously happened with Ethereum. That's kind of caused what we now know as ETC and whatever else. So definitely, I think this is a good piece of data to kind of continuously monitor. But I want to go over some of the technicals and whatever else, and just to give you a good viewpoint on what is coming next. But I just wanted to play roughly about a minute from this kind of interview with the BlackRock CEO, which they did have their earnings today as well. But aside from that, though, he definitely does say a lot of good things on how the market's going. ETF. So let me know your thoughts.
It's the first time we've had an opportunity to talk to you about it, which is Bitcoin, the Bitcoin ETF. We're going to be talking to Gary Gensler, the chair of the SEC, who made that decision reluctantly, maybe even begrudgingly, which was announced just 2 days ago, and we talked a lot about yesterday on the broadcast. How big a deal is that for BlackRock? And this was for you a big switch as well, because you were a naysayer for a very, very long time.
Yeah, I probably switched. For the first 3 years of thinking about it, I was a naysayer, and about 2 years ago, I switched. And I'm actually, as I said in the last 2 years, I'm a big believer.
Are you a believer personally? Meaning, is the Fink family a Bitcoin buyer or a buyer of this new ETF?
Well, now I could do that. I cannot, I don't want to compete with our clients, so I don't buy single assets. I'll buy mutual funds. I'll buy single ETFs. So I have an opportunity to do that now.
Keep in mind, a lot of people have that same mentality. Don't want to call them boomers, but a lot of the older generation has that same mentality. So with ETFs, that's going to add a lot of liquidity into these underlying assets, potentially even ETC.
But I'm a believer in it because I do believe it is an alternative source for wealth holding. I don't believe it's ever going to be a currency. I believe it's an asset class.
You don't believe it ever becomes a currency?
No, I think we're going to create digital currencies. We're going to use the technology for it. We're going to use the blockchain.
How important is that, though, to then the long-term value proposition
of Bitcoin?
Of Bitcoin. If it's not something that ultimately becomes a currency, if it's simply, we'll call it digital gold, it's an asset of some sort, what does that mean?
It means,
in terms of price,
I believe it goes up if the world is more frightened, if people have fearful of geopolitical risk, they're fearful of their own risk. It's no different than what gold represented over thousands of years. It is a asset class that protects you.
Right.
And unlike gold, where we manufacture new gold, we're almost at the ceiling of the amount of Bitcoin that be created.
When you hear somebody like Cathie Wood,
yes,
who was on our broadcast yesterday, say that her base case is that this turns into a $600,000 a Bitcoin valuation, base case, and a million plus in a super optimistic case. Are you anywhere in her realm?
I haven't thought about it. To me, that.
So yeah, there you have it. Imagine actually what would happen to the price of ETC if those price targets by Cathie Woods for Bitcoin are actually hit. But let's move on to some technicals. So I am looking at the 1 day chart right now. I have the 725 100-day moving averages, Bollinger Band, RSIs, and I guess stochastic RSI, and momentum. Momentum shows number of investors have been getting in. Of course, FOMO and whatever else. Stochastic RSI does show it is kind of hot, but despite that though, you still do see a bullish underlying sentiment. So the purple line is above the teal, so that's kind of a good thing. On the actual chart, again looking at the 1 day, it is outside the Bollinger Band, and unless there's some justifiable reason for that to occur, typically it does get dragged back down. So that's probably the circumstances of what did happen today. So it shows the high of around $32.48. I know I've been saying I think 31 throughout the video, but like I've said in the past, you kind of have to look at the 4 hour, 1 hour, everything feeds into one another. Looking at the 4 hour, it is consolidating. So you can kind of very clearly see this right here. So as of right now, it is below the 7-day moving average. So consolidating, that is causing the stochastic RSI to reset. Number of retail investors, or I guess number of investors, are still getting in. So I feel like today's consolidation is going to be still fairly healthy. You have to look at some of the strong support and resistance points. So with it at 29.37, it is right now between this pivot and this R1. So 29.25 is going to be something for you to watch for, and then vice versa, 26.70 if the consolidation does continue. And as far as upcoming resistance points, 31.80, 33.38, and then 35.93. So obviously it definitely does have a lot of good momentum, and you never know, especially with how much shorts are in ETC, there could be a second wave or potentially even a third wave of maybe a short squeeze. And keep in mind, this is going to be the very first week that there is going to be a Bitcoin ETF approval. So imagine what typically does happen on the weekends, because for those of you that were in ETC or just cryptocurrencies in 2021, people invested in the stocks, equities, and whatever during Monday through Friday. Weekends, that is when things got very, very interesting. You saw a huge, immense amount of volume getting into cryptocurrencies, causing the stock price to go up. Weekends were kind of interesting all the time. You could pretty much throw a dart at any coin out there and it was going up on the weekend. And then Sunday night, in turn, it would go down. People cycle back into equities and so forth. So I feel like this upcoming weekend is going to be very, very interesting. Let me know your thoughts. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up and subscribe. Give yourself a shout out. Have you been buying? Have you been selling? I didn't buy any, unfortunately, so I didn't really get to participate so much in this. I still have my average of 44, but I believe in it long term, and I'm going to be holding for the long term. So let me know your thoughts and what you've been doing. One final thing I just wanted to share with you, take advantage of this promo. It is with Moomoo. It has been extended up until January the 15th. Simply sign up for an account with Moomoo, throw $100 at it, and you get 5 free stocks. Each stock is valued up to $2,000, so take advantage of this. Link in the description below and also the comments. With all that said, appreciate all of you watching.